Hey there, beer nerds. How's it going today? So last week's video was in honor of the Super Bowl and covered the evolution of beer commercials here in the United States. Now, if you haven't seen that video yet, pause this one and click the link in the description below. For those of you who need a refresher, I talked about how beer commercials are shifting more towards a focus on things like natural ingredients, emphasis on the brewing process, and even trying to focus on things like innovation. So with those things in mind, let's take a look at some of the beer ads from this year's Super Bowl and see if we can break these down a little bit and spot any of those trends in these ads. At the risk of having this video lifted off YouTube, I'm only going to show you stills from these ads, but instead of trying to show you the whole thing. But I'll put links in the description below for each one of these ads we're going to talk about today. So Busch was kind of the first big ad spot, and they really took that natural angle with their commercial. They had their new spokesperson pull a six-pack straight out of a rushing stream and crack it open. They had a lot of fun with their little Busch sound gag with all the and they had all the animals around, so that was kind of fairly classic beer commercial humor, much like a lot of the old Coors ads featuring the rocky stream and things like that. So Busch really going hard with their new spokesperson on the naturalist angle, which was cool to see, and that was, I think, their first Super Bowl ad spot for the brand. So that's kind of cool to see a new contender out there. Bud Light brought back Spuds McKenzie, brought him back from the dead, actually, for a little Ghost of Beers Past action. Most American drinkers will recognize Bud Light's iconic dog mascot, Spuds McKenzie, because he always seemed to be there with a Bud Light at the right time. And just like from the evolution of ads video, this one really focuses on the drinker and how awesome it is to show up at a party with some Bud. As controversial as that opinion probably is in the beer nerd community. Besides being a throwback to some old Budweiser ads, this was a classic Bud Light, Joe's six-pack advertising. Just really solid, and it was fairly funny, too. And then the last major beer spot was Anheuser-Busch's immigration story ad. The commercial focused on the immigration story of Adolphus Busch, co-founder of Anheuser-Busch, and it showed him on the boat to America, meeting some unfriendly locals, and surviving a harrowing steamboat fire before finally making his way to St. Louis and meeting his co-founder Anheuser in a bar and making his dream of brewing beer a reality. Now, before the Super Bowl, AB InBev's marketing director here in the U.S. said that the ad was super relevant today, but later went on to elaborate that there's really no correlation with anything that's happening in the country. Right. Now, I don't do any political commentary on this channel. I'm not even going to give an opinion either way on this one. But I am going to call some bullshit on AB InBev when you tell me that an ad is both super relevant today, yet has no correlation with anything that's happening in the country. Does the word relevant even mean anything? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. And the whole ad kind of vexed me too. The Adolphus Busch immigration story, I actually think is decently compelling. Adolphus Busch was actually a really innovative guy when it comes to brewing. He was the first guy, at least here in the U.S. I'm not sure if he was the first in the world to do this too, but he was the first to really use industrial grade refrigeration technology and a lot of rail distribution to really make Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser a national brewery in an era of local and regional breweries across an entire continent, which is actually really, really cool story about how to be a modern national brand. And it was a lot of Adolphus Busch and his distribution techniques. But I think this ad really kind of alienates people who consume AB InBev brands the most. There was the hashtag boycott Budweiser movement started in reaction to this ad. And folks on that side of the aisle, they're much more likely to drink Bud than the other side of the political spectrum. So it really kind of seemed to blow back on them a little bit. And, those on the other side of the aisle who might have been able to really get behind or relate to an immigrant story, they don't tend to drink a lot of light beer. So I'm just kind of confused as to why a marketing exec would have thought this was a great idea. Regardless, though, this was an ad that really got a lot of people talking and will probably be talked about a lot more. So there we go, folks. Lots of commercials this year. Not a ton of beer commercials battling out in the prime ad slots, though. Let me know what you think of this year's ads in the comments below, and also let me know if you have any beer topics you want me to research for future videos. This week's video actually coming up is a viewer suggestion, and as always, it's going to be coming out Friday at noon Eastern. So start your weekend off right here with Beer by the Numbers. Cheers, beer nerds.